King Charles was under extreme pressure. Cop28 was the spark that lit the Meghan and Harry bomb. Amid the escalating race row, the king has made a high-profile appearance, dropping a huge hint about what's really happening behind the scenes. Hello and a very warm welcome to Kate Middleton and the Queen channel. They usually say the devil is in the detail. But sometimes the devil is not the only thing there. Stuff like painful truths and depressing realizations about the severity of situations could also be there. Things like, I don't know, perhaps the possibility that King Charles is not doing very well right now. Because you know what? Maybe at 75 years old, he is finding himself caught up in these devastating accusations of bigotry that could have been taking more of a personal toll than anybody really realized. If you were to look at His Majesty at Cop28 in Dubai last week, you could have easily thought that the worst thing in his world at that moment was him discovering that the UAE's ambassadorial residence didn't stock his favorite brand of brand flakes. The king was there to give the speech that he had waited a full 50 years to give. It was a call for climate action that came after decades of King Charles being written off as an oddball who really loved talking to plants. You would never have guessed, based on his performance, that a book written by a devoted sympathizer of his son and daughter-in-law had supposedly on accident named him as one of the two members of the royal family at the middle of this ongoing royal race feud, except for one interesting detail and the presence of one person who reportedly stayed very close throughout the Dubai trip. Over the last 48 hours, there has been no sign that things are going to slow down in this torrent of stories coming out of the UK after the Dutch and Belgian editions of Omid Scobie's Endgame named the King and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, as the members of the family who supposedly wondered about Prince Archie's skin color before he was born. The media floodgates have certainly been opened, and Buckingham Palace has been putting on its bravest face. They are putting out the line that the royal family are united and they are focused on getting on with the job. Everybody has been dialing the diligent to 11 these days. And all of that could have been easy to accept, except for one report revealing that while the king was in Dubai, his doctor was actually keeping a close watch on him, and he was rarely far from his side. Now, this little detail, this bit of information that could easily have been overlooked in all the angry denunciations of whichever member of the family you dislike the most here, says a lot about the impact that in-game is having on the king. Over the past year, to be sure, the king has dealt with a lot of stress. He certainly didn't need this. Charles has only been in the top job for about 15 months now, which in the grand scheme of things is not a very long time. Just since the king has been king, Harry and his wife Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, have released an almost 6-hour Netflix docuseries that really sold their victim narrative to whoever would listen. And Harry released that 400-plus page book, a good 2/3 of which is a smorgasbord of spite and resentment, and a very one-sided retelling of things. So basically, for a lot of the king's first year and a little bit, he's had to deal with Harry dishing up his feelings like some type of disgruntled employee. And throughout all of this, the king has followed in his mother's footsteps. He has determinedly carried on. He doesn't seem bothered by the fact that Meghan and Harry had a good few years running their grievance roadshow. But then, let's look at what happened last week. On the day that Endgame was released, the Dutch journalist Rick Evers popped up on X, formerly known as Twitter, to point out that while the English version did not specify who had made these alleged skin color comments, his local edition did. And the next 24 hours was absolutely insane. So for starters, the British press held off actually naming Charles and Catherine, until Piers Morgan decided to let the cat out of the bag and decided to also reaffirm his brand as a pot-stirring prat. Even then, though, the palace didn't make any official comment. But when the king arrived in Dubai, asked how he was by the Nigerian president Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he said, "I'm all right, just about." And then, with Charles at Cop28, one by one the British media outlets fell and started naming Charles and Catherine. The BBC had actually maintained that they wouldn't be joining in. That is, until 7:36 a.m. on Friday, only 55 minutes before the king was supposed to give the speech of his lifetime. And now we know, thanks to The Sun, that Charles looked visibly tired while he was in Dubai and that his doctor was rarely far from his side. Now, the obvious question here is Charles really doing okay? I mean, how much can any human being, even one who is the king, how much can he put up with before it becomes too much? Both personally and professionally, this has been a really rough time for Charles. There have been so many changes. Both his mother and his father passed away in the span of only 18 months. His relationship with his darling boy Harry has completely fallen apart, maybe forever, and he has assumed the unthinkable pressure and responsibility for shepherding the monarchy into the future. And it's not like his workload is getting lighter, it's only increasing. When Her late Majesty passed away last year, Charles became the oldest heir to ever accede to the British throne. And as of last month, now he is 75 years old. At a time of his life when his contemporaries are busy winding down, retiring, enjoying their first drink earlier and earlier in the day, he is throwing himself into a very demanding and exhausting job. Now, the late Queen, up until the very end, dutifully went through her official red box of government papers that she needed to read and sign every single day out of the year except for Easter Sunday and Christmas Day. That is 363 days of paperwork for 70 years. And there's nothing to suggest that Charles is not following suit. He has been widely marked upon as perpetually sedulous, or basically a permanent hard grafter. 5 years ago, Harry said about his father, "This is a man who has dinner ridiculously late at night and then goes to his desk later that night and will fall asleep on his nose to the point where he'll wake up with a piece of paper stuck to his face. The man never stops." And that was even before he became king. We also have to consider that recently he somehow found the time to launch the Coronation Food Project. And this newly renamed King's Trust is one of the most successful charity outfits of modern times. It helped more than 1 million young people in the UK and the Commonwealth train for careers or find some work. And the travel required of him to go and deploy some of the soft power of royalty post-Brexit is nothing to scoff at. So considering all this, I'm surprised the King's doctor is not always there following him around. I mean, I would be really worried about him too. At his age, this is a lot of work for him to be taking on. And look, I've heard all the criticisms of Charles, but you cannot say he's lazy. Back in 2019, Meghan told the interviewer Tom Bradby, "Not many people have asked if I'm okay." And that's a question that certainly the palace should have been asking the Duchess back then. So today, I'm also wondering how many, if anybody, has asked the king exactly that question. And you, do you agree with the views of my video? Please let me know your opinion below in the comments. If you think my video is useful, don't be afraid to like and share with anybody else who would enjoy it anytime you want. And please subscribe to our Kate Middleton and the Queen YouTube channel to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for watching, goodbye, and we'll be back to see you tonight. Thanks for watching!